Edgar, thank you very much for your time. So I know the answer to this, but what's a bigger story right now? Billy Napier, Florida, playing LSU. Obviously, Alex Golish and what they've done, having Miami and Florida State off to what is a very impressive 2-0 start.
Oh, wow. I didn't know I was getting pulled in on all three teams. They're all big. I mean, Florida State's stunning, and what they did to Alabama, the Seminoles, was unbelievable. And Gus Malzahn, you give him a quarterback who has a run threat, and he can grease that running game up with the best of them. They'll be tough with that. And he was recruiting it. As for USF, I mean, they're kind of the early season Cinderella. A lot of people are thinking big things for them, but reality could be arriving this week. I mean, they're 3 touchdown underdogs, I believe, against Miami. We'll, see what they're made of. I think the Gators kind of gave that game away multiple times last Saturday. And obviously, when there's blood in the water in Gainesville, it's a big story nationally. And it seems like someone was joking the other day or asked me the other day, what do you write? I forget how he put it, but I said, I'm just cut and pasting my stories from last year. I mean, it's the same story. They've stumbled out of the gate. Billy's on the ropes again. And this time, I don't think he's going to get a vote of confidence.
Obviously, they've got a gauntlet of a schedule. And say they do lose 2, and is there a point where you think this happens where they just can't go any further, or does he get every opportunity to prove that he can still turn this around? Because the easiest games on their schedule right now appear to be Kentucky and Mississippi State, and those aren't gimmies. That might be the ones that they might be favored in, but who knows where they are in a month.
Well, there are no gimmies left on the schedule now. And Mississippi State showed against Arizona State that it is, going to be a tougher out, certainly, than expected. Jeff Levy can coach offense. We knew that. Last year they had almost 500 yards against Florida and looked competent on offense, just had no defensive resistance against the Gators. Kentucky, I don't know. They can't throw the football. It seems like Mark Stoops' program's in pretty serious decline, but we'll see. And they're tough to beat at Kentucky. And Florida, even with superior teams, has struggled at Kentucky over the years historically. But, 8 ranked teams otherwise. And it's a brutal schedule. Coming up, they are playing 5, Miami, and then a bye, and then 7 in Texas. That adds up to 15 in the rankings. They've only played a harder 3-game stretch ever. And that was number 1 Florida State, lost, beat Alabama in the SEC title game, beat Florida State for the national title, number 1. The difference is that was 2 meetings with the same Florida State team. This time it's 3 different teams. And that was Steve Spurrier's national title team, not this Gator team that we don't know where it's going. So this is the toughest 3-game stretch in the history of the program by all accounts. And then you follow it with visit to Kyle Field. So his work's cut out. Billy Napier has his work cut out for him to win any of those games.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a schedule like this, Edgar. With this, I mean, not 3 straight top 10s, much less than a top 15 right after, another top 10 2 weeks later, and then 3 top 20s as of right now to end the season. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane stuff. And we know it'll change, but maybe not by much. So going into tomorrow, that first matchup at number 3 LSU, no love loss here, obviously, but what gives you some optimism maybe for the Gators? What gives you some pessimism? What do you think about this game tomorrow?
This used to be the best crossover rivalry when there were divisions for years. A bunch of one-score games, just riveting drama. It's lost some of that. It's still a good rivalry, but it used to be like the best of those crossovers that no longer exist. But, LSU at Tiger Stadium is a tough out. They're 20-2 under Brian Kelly, and Florida has not won here since the goal line stand under Jim McElwain in 2016 in the makeup game for Hurricane Matthew, that was all kinds of bad blood going into that game. They needed a 98-yard touchdown pass and a goal line stand to win that game. So that's what it takes to win at Tiger Stadium for the Gators in the last whatever. I mean, Tim Tebow was the one to win the other one, 2009. It was only 13-3. You got to go all the way back to Chris Leake's freshman year otherwise. So they have not won but 2 games since 2003 in Tiger Stadium. So it's a big ask based on history. Based on the current teams, the current matchup. I mean, LSU's offense doesn't look great thus far. It looks very shaky. In fact, Nussmeier's averaging 5.6 an attempt. Caden Durham, the star tailback, has 103 yards on 30 carries. I mean, that's paltry, yard per play right there. And their offensive line is completely retooled. I think there's one returning starter. So they are having some growing pains on offense. The difference is their defense looks a lot more like the LSU defenses of yesteryear than the recent ones that have been sieves. And they are pretty good. And Harold Perkins is an elite player, a top 20 draft pick, maybe even higher. And he's a missile. And he's healthy. And he's a problem. So Florida has not been playing that well up front. And they were supposed to be very good up front. They haven't played very well up front. They had a bunch of penalties the other day. Every position on that offensive line had a flag against it. A couple were substitutes, but nonetheless, that's not good. They need to play a lot better up front, create opportunities for Jaden Baugh, who's an elite tailback talent-wise and production-wise. But the big key right now is DJ Lagway needs to look a little bit more like DJ Lagway of 2024 November and not the kid we're seeing so far who looks rusty, who looks like a guy who hasn't practiced because of injuries all off season and really is in his first full month of actually being in a live pocket since the Gasparilla Bowl last year. So he's showing a lot of rust, a lot of, confidence issues, not seeing the field. I mean, I think the young man already needed to work on processing better against zone defenses and 2 deep looks. And his accuracy in the short to intermediate passing game wasn't great last year anyway. He's excellent at making those long throws, dropping it in tough areas. But you can't just expect a guy to come knock the rust off and start making elite throws if he hadn't even been playing.
Edgar, look, last year at the beginning of the basketball season, Todd Golden was mired in this Title IX investigation, which when we had you on last year, we talked about how it gave a little bit of cover to Billy Napier in that it gave him some time to make the quarterback change and, kind of build some momentum into 2025. How does Billy Napier channel that to keep the noise away from his team? Because Todd Golden, he was essentially still pretty new to the job. He hadn't won the national title yet. If a couple more details go a different way in that, then Florida has a big problem at basketball coach. Now it went the other direction completely and they won the title. So how do they close out the noise in the locker room that everybody's starting to hear all over Gainesville?
Well, Billy, one thing about Billy's team all 3 years previously, and there have been a lot of rough patches under Billy Napier. I mean, he's 20-20 at Florida, I believe is his record. I think it's 20-20. And 4 of those wins are FCS teams. Another is a 1-win USF team. Another is a Charlotte team that they beat by kicking 5 field goals and barely got by them. Another one of those is, I said the FCS teams. It doesn't matter. It's a bunch of nothing competition. 8 of those wins are against nobodies, right? So they haven't really had a lot of success under Billy Napier. There's been, except for the end of last season. And through it all, where I was going is he has kept his team playing hard, kept his team, playing for each other and focus, not always performing the best, but playing with effort. And that's impressive. So he has a way of keeping the team rallying and blocking out the noise and staying the course. I do think this roster has more talent than past ones. I don't know if it's as talented as some people were thinking going into the season. One of the reasons is Dallas Wilson, the freshman receiver, has still not played, and he has star potential, 6'3", 216, 10 for 195 receiving receptions and yards in the spring game, both records. And he hasn't played yet. Caleb Banks, the star defensive tackle, is back this week. That's going to give a defense that needed its interior push a lift. But talent-wise, he has more to work with. If he can keep the team rallied and playing together and around him, playing with the effort that it's played with in the past when the program's been kind of in the hole, they could pick off a game or two here, including Saturday night. I mean, it wouldn't stun me. Now, am I expecting it? No. But there is a path out of this. I mean, it's pie in the sky to a degree. I mean, a lot of things have to fall in place, but it's not impossible or unheard of.
Yeah, last year they looked like they were stuck and they found a way. And of course, the quarterback Lagway gave them some of that because he's the one that recruited him. Craig,
Edgar, just a kind of off topic. How do you feel about the SEC going to 9 conference games?
Oh, I mean, I love it. More games, the better. The problem is because of the playoffs and a lot of teams are backing out of like previous non-conference agreements, Florida being among them. Florida is now backed out of an NC State agreement that was 26-7, I think, or 25-6 maybe. No, it's 26-7. A Arizona State agreement reportedly just came out yesterday. They're backing out of that. That was like 28-30 or something. So they're backing out of some of these agreements. They have Colorado still with Coach Prime, but they could back out of that one. Now they still have Notre Dame in 2030-31. They're still going to keep UCF on the schedule because that's the in-state kind of deal you got to keep. But when you're like dropping, Power 4 teams because you're adding a 9th SEC game, I don't really like that domino effect from it. But Florida's not ever getting rid of Florida State, so they will play 10 real games every year. But unfortunately, the other two probably won't be all that appealing. I mean, they have games like Campbell, South Alabama, Charleston Southern, Furman, teams like that on the future schedules. Not a big fan of those. I think you should get one of those. You want to open with one softie? Okay, fine. Open with it and then get down to business. You're asking people to pay too much money to watch these games, sacrifice too much, and I just think it's a bad look when you're playing more than one of those teams. But I think that's going to be one of the kind of side effects. But in terms of the conference and all that, it's wonderful. They should have been playing 9 games for a while, I think.
Last thing for me, Edgar, you have Miami, who's really good. And of course, they're tested this week with USF. USF having this phenomenal start. Florida State seems to be, they're back. Florida, yeah, we don't know yet, but it doesn't look good. And then you have, obviously, other schools around the state. What would it be like in Florida if FSU, Florida, Miami, and then someone like USF is not just an upstart, but pretty good? And that doesn't happen very often, does it? No,
and UCF has Scott Frost back. It's rebuilding big time currently, but look what he did in 2017. I mean, they claimed the national championship that year humorously, but if he can get them back and shake off the yoke of the Nebraska fiasco, suddenly you have those 5 programs looking, all up and running. That's pretty impressive state for football. But they would love to get the Big 3 back in Florida. It's been a while, and that's sorely missed because back in the 90s when the Big 3 was really rolling, 80s, 90s, particularly the 90s, I mean, that was like, the center of the college football universe was in Florida. They like being the center of the universe in Florida, trust me.
I miss those days, Edgar. I really do. Miss those days. It's because it was always fun. I wonder how much of how the FHSAA has kind of screwed up high school football there that is hurting all of the college programs in Florida right now, because I don't think the talent is getting developed in the same way that it used to be.
Well, they talk about like Georgia, for example, which is really, I mean, there's kind of a big 4 now in recruiting. It was always Texas, then California and Florida, right? Mm-hmm. And Georgia's pretty damn good at putting out players now. And there are a few other states, Ohio, Louisiana, maybe Pennsylvania, that put out a lot of players. But the Big Four, if you want to include Georgia. And a big reason Georgia has kind of, entered that conversation is because of the development of, players up there, because their coaches are compensated differently, are demands on them in the classroom and in the roles that they have within the school are different. And there's just it's more of a football, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But development of players is kind of lagged just a touch maybe in certain ways, I guess, but it's still an incredible state for, talent, and schools come from all over to recruit it. And that's part of the thing when the Big Three started to kind of lose its dominance. Other schools, whether it was Clemson, Ohio State, or whomever, take your pick, started slipping in and taking players out of Florida. And that's been going on for a while now. And, you can't let some of the talent that's gotten out of Florida get out anymore if you're Billy Napier or whoever replaces them, or if you're Mike Norvell, or if you're Mario Cristobal. I mean, you got to keep the kids in the border of the Sunshine State.